you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Either you are, or I'll be skipping rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.
This podcast is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Robots Radio. Games. Lore. Stories. Community. Just press play. Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, the podcast where we explore the amazing universe of the Elder Scrolls. Adventurers, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots, and I'm here with my good buddy, Lotus, and today we're talking about Almalexia. Probably, Lotus, I feel like Almalexia is one of the, of the three Tribunal, she's the one that gets the least attention. Do you feel like that?
Well, sort of. She might not get the least attention. She gets a lot of attention in game, much less attention in people discussing the game, if that makes sense.
That might be it. Maybe that's it. Because everybody talks about Vivek because Vivek's a total mess. And then everybody thinks so Thassil's was super cool and aloof and weird and philosophical and all that. And then Almalexia is like, yeah, and then there's Almalexia. That seems to be the general discussion. But I want to start with her because we've been talking about Morrowind, we've been talking about the Dunmer, and I feel like she gets a short shrift in the community.
Especially because in game, she's very influential. We can get into it in a second, but the term Mother Morrowind will come up quite frequently because the Dunmer love her.
Right.
It's really, really important. And she is much more involved with a lot of the day-to-day dealings in game. Whereas you mentioned Thassil, a little aloof. We'll get into that with his episode. Vivek, yeah, okay. Keeping Bardal from making everybody go squish. But at the same time, kind of just sitting in his, canton, hovering in place, glowing.
Yeah, and being all about himself.
Poetic.
Yeah, being all about it. He's like the epitome of the I'm going to say something because it makes me sound smart, right? Kind of guys. Yeah, the thing I said is super smart. Aren't I so smart? That's the feeling I get from Vivek.
Whereas at least on we'll get into it later throughout her lifespan, but overtly, she's definitely much more of the people, and wants to be no, I'm going to do good things for you, and you'll love me because I want to help you and I want to make your lives better and stuff like that. And we'll get into exactly whether it's vain or not, and if there's actually a lot more to it than just I actually care about you, having better lives, or I just really want you to love me type of deal.
Right. Right.
But yeah, in game, I feel like she's the most connected. But to your point, out of game, she seems like the least talked about of the three more often than not.
Yeah. So what this episode is not about, because it stands alone, is the events of Red Mountain and the events of tapping into the heart of Lorkhan and Dagoth or any
not getting into why they may or may not actually be divine.
Yeah, we're not getting into the origins of that, and we're not getting into the end of the story, the events of Morrowind 3 so much, as this is more of a character study. We're taking a look at her and her life, and more specifically her as the deity that is being worshipped and what she's about. Right. So here, let's start this off because we're pulling from the UESP, and at the beginning we've got a nice summary of all the different titles that she's given, and this is going to feel a lot like one of our Daedric Prince episodes, I think. Yep. So Almalexia, also known as Almalexia the Lover, Almalexia the Warden, AM, and one of the three god kings who constitute the Tribunal, or Alm Civi. It's like a combination of each of their names. It's
Almalexia. What's that, an acronym? Vivek. Is that the word for that?
Yeah, it's
like a little more elaborate because it's multiple letters. It's not just a single one, but
Yeah.
Is it still an acronym? I'm not sure if you used multiple, if that classifies as something different.
I don't think it does. I think it's probably its own thing, but it's similar in concept. So yeah, she's along with Vivek and Sotha Sil, and she's very popular with the Dunmer, who call her Healing Mother or Lady of Mercy or Mother Morrowind, like you mentioned.
Yep.
And they know her as a source of compassion and sympathy and forgiveness, protector of the poor and weak, and the patron of teachers and healers. So all good, right? Like, that sounds great. She sounds
great.
She sounds perfect. Like, who doesn't want a compassionate, godlike mother deity being looking over you and your people?
Yep. I mean, she hovers too. So, I mean, just hovering there, being around. Awesome, making sure you don't all fall apart at the seams.
Yeah.
That seems pretty good, especially just being like in one of your capital cities. It's just like, oh yeah, let's go just hang out and see God. She's just chilling right over there.
She's chilling over there, over in Mournhold. That's where she hangs out.
Yeah. Yep. Right. It's like that's a pretty interesting, and it's a situation the Dunmer kind of sort of have a little more than the others. They have a very tangible connection to a couple of their deities. It's just, you can literally reach out and touch them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so she hangs out in Mournhold. She's closely associated with the House Indoril, which we talked about previously. And she's also known as being the most personable of the Tribunal. And she's often seen walking among her people. So she doesn't just float there like Vivek. And she's not off in some Clockwork City. I feel like the Clockwork City is like Sotha Sil's like train set.
Yeah.
You know, that's like his little modeling project, you know, like where he
don't touch my stuff. I'm playing with it right now, and you'll mess up the track, and then it won't run right. Yeah.
Right. Leave my stuff alone. Go do your own thing. I don't care. Move on. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, but she walks among the people, and in the beginning of her story, which like I mentioned again at the beginning, we're not going to go into a lot of detail. She was the wife of Indoril Nerevar way back in the day, and she was a counselor of Resdane. And when the events of all that stuff went on, that's pretty shrouded in like mystery and antiquity at this point, because you have to go way back in time. And basically it comes down to she and the rest of the Tribunal promised not to use the tools of Kagranak on the heart of Lorkhan. And lo and behold,
spoiler,
boom,
she does.
Somehow they all become gods, right?
It's weird.
How did they all get that god power?
How did they all get that god power?
Well, they like to say...
And why is everybody else cursed?
Yeah, right. They like to say that it was due to the nature of them being such good and awesome people that
they were so helpful. They were gifted divinity.
They were gifted divinity.
Which is interesting, because on the joking curse aspect, the aesthetic to them, the Dunmer, you know, all being ashen skinned and like the grayish blue color, the Tribunal all has a unique twist on that. Almalexia being very different, as she actually still looks like a Chimer. Like, she has golden skin. She didn't take that ashen curse, which makes her very unique looking when you think of like, oh, she's devoid of that curse type of thing.
Right. She has the kind of golden copper kind of hue.
Right. The other half of Vivek, which you'll see a lot of times since he's like 50-50.
Right.
She's the gold part of that.
Right.
That's her in her entirety, which is interesting because you don't really see any Dunmer that still look like Chimer. Like that's a thing of the past, except for her
and half of Vivek. So Thasil took on the Dunmer kind of ashen skin.
Right. And so Thasil went all ashen skin.
Right. So if you add them all up, half of the Tribunal, because you have 1.5 of them are Chimer and 1.5 of them are Dunmer.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting. So
it is interesting. Also, before we get too far from it, because it was looked up in chat and a nerd shouted it out. that thing we were like, is there a different name? Because it's not quite an acronym. Apparently, it's an amalgamated name.
Well, that makes sense.
What the term is.
Yeah.
So just for anybody else who was curious or feverishly like trying to Wikipedia while driving and listening to this, don't do that.
Don't
That's
do that.
what it's called.
Focus on driving, please.
Please be safe.
We don't need to be responsible for anybody going to the hospital.
But anyways, yes, back to Almalexia.
Yeah. So going back to the whole origin story thing, the only reason I bring that up a little bit, and again, we're not going into detail there, is because there is a certain level from the beginning of deception and shadiness going on here. There is a certain amount of, well, they probably did it for their own benefit. And now that they have these powers, they are taking on this role of being a god of these people.
Right.
But there was also the curse. There was also the post-justification of them being anticipations, or the Daedric princes being anticipations of them, because they were always going to be coming from those anticipated versions into themselves, that kind of thing, right? So that being said, there's a little bit of like, yeah, she does all these good things. People know her for being good and compassionate, but she's still carrying around a big lie in order to maintain that.
Right. It's not like she got that from totally being just this benevolent, like, oh, you are so cool, we'll just give you super god powers. It's not how that works, and it's not how the tribunal wants. I mean, that's what the tribunal would like everyone to think, but there's a lot of evidence that shows that that is not how that works whatsoever.
Right. So I mean, that's pretty much it. When you get to the concept of like the extent of her powers and things, I personally here don't have a firm sense of where those boundaries actually are. And I don't feel like we get a clear sense of that in the games. We get a sense that like she gained her power from the heart of Lorkhan, just like the rest of the tribunal. And every so often they have to go regain their power or refill up their batteries, sort of kind of thing.
Go on their little pilgrimage.
But they are not all powerful gods. They're not gods with a capital G who can do anything they want.
They're
and
much
are
more
boundless.
Of a demigod type of thing within the series, where they have above normal levels of, strength and magical ability and all this stuff. But they're not just these. I mean, even comparatively, there's, they can make some interesting scenarios with Daedric princes, which happens in the story. So it's like their level of understanding and strength and power and stuff like that definitely rivals some very strong entities type of deal. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's much more fallible than just like, this is how you were created. It's more of a, you gained this power is kind of how the series has always been, because there are several storylines, where it's being messed with. Like their absolute power is not so absolute. Like there are things that screw with it. And, once we get to her final days, because spoiler, she's not alive. Like, so
yeah. In the fourth era of the world, like, she's no longer around.
She's not there anymore. Like the tribunal is not this lasting entity that was unstoppable. Like they had a finite end in the end.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the details about some of the things that she's done historically. Yep. We have a section here in the UESP, and thank you for the follow. And those of you who are in the live stream, thank you for being here. For some reason, my sound setup is weird, so those sounds are going to come across a little bit louder than they normally do on the recording. So if you hear weird stream stuff, that's what's going on. So we have, like, we go back to the time of her taking on this power and moving forward in time. And then you have, for example, in the first era, 2920, Mehrunes Dagon destroyed the city of Mournhold. Wonderful, right? Mm-hmm. Mehrunes Dagon decides...
It's what Dagon does.
He's going to go destroy something. He picks her city. After an epic battle, he was defeated by Almalexia and Sothasil. So this, to your point, gives us a sense of their power. The two of them together could stand toe-to-toe with Mehrunes Dagon and his forces.
Right. That's, that's, And that's essentially a god that was created that way, more so than, in the implication that they kind of took their power. This is just like Dagon has been around for
He's
so
fundamental.
Long.
We talked about him.
Exactly.
He seems to be one of the oldest beings in existence.
Exactly. So, having the strength of that's usually quite a sign of strength when you can, hold your own against something quite as over the top as someone like Mehrunes Dagon, who's not even like a slouch of a Daedric prince. Like that's one of the higher end Daedric princes in terms of power. So.
So the assumption here is that this is a true story. Of course, things get kind of recast as time goes by, and there's not anybody around anymore to remember what actually happened. And these people, being potentially eternal in their lifespan, have the benefit of being able to recast history through generations of people who don't live through that same time period as long as they do. So is probably accurate, but then again, maybe there's some fiction around it. We have another event, and I'm going to read this whole section. It's during the Second Era, 572, so getting close to the time of ESO. Almalexia fought alongside Wolfhearth, also known as the Underking. We needed to do an episode about the Underking and Wolfhearth. We're going way back to like weird connections with like names of characters that get lumped in with other characters and eventually become the same character throughout the evolution of the series.
I'm actually kind of experiencing that playing Daggerfall with the Underking and stuff like that. So these are some characters dating back to some old games as well. So
right. So against I'm going to mess up these names. Ada Sum Dur Kamal during the Akaviri invasion of northern Tamriel. Akaviri was the landmass off to the east of Tamriel, and that's at one point they were invaded. The Akaviri actually took residence in Tamriel, kind of conquered some areas, and yada yada yada. Sources seem to disagree on certain aspects of this conflict. Mysterious Akavir, this is one of the books in the games, treats Morrowind as the target of the Akaviri invasion, though Skyrim was apparently the Akaviri's initial target. The Arcturian heresy claims Almalexia was the one who summoned the Underking to fight alongside the Tribunal, which seems super shady because the Underking is kind of an evil bad guy. Even though in life, he had been one of their greatest enemies. Yorin, the Skald King, contradicts this, crediting the Greybeards with summoning the Ash King. The book also claims that Dur Kamal's army was crushed by several Tamrielic military forces, not just the Dunmer army under Almalexia's command, and that this occurred at a place called Stonefalls. The other sources do not mention the Nordic or Argonian forces which played roles, and Mysterious Akavir says Dur Kamal was defeated at Red Mountain. So this is one of those things that happens. We have this what seems like a real event because we have aspects of history moving forward that show that the Akaviri were actually in Tamriel. They did things. Some of them served the Empire. There's a whole. I was going to say there was an Akaviri potentate that was in a position of leading the Empire for quite a while at points. So. Right. So we know the Akaviri invaded. We know they came over, but the specific details here of Almalexia's relationship to the Underking, or did it have something to do with the Nords? Were the Nords and the Argonians involved? Did it happen at Stonefalls? Did it happen at that other location I mentioned, which I can't find in the text all of a sudden? Red Mountain, do we know? We don't know. We have a lot of conflicting sources, and there's a lot of people who would benefit from gaslighting history, right?
Yeah, I need to take credit for this because it makes my importance seem much, much more. And it's all the same region, so it doesn't even seem like it's necessarily like they're kind of fighting over the exacts of where exactly did this happen, so that I can scoop up some kudos, please, as opposed to, it happened here and these people were involved. Everybody's kind of scrambling for their piece of the, heroic glory pie here. So it's you don't want to let other people take too much credit, even if they did more than you did.
Right. The next paragraph goes on. It says, following the Akaviri invasion, Almalexia was a strong supporter of the formation of the Ebonheart Pact. This is a phrase. This is a term that you guys will recognize if you play ESO. The Ebonheart Pact, Almalexia, maybe came up with the idea, or at least very much supported it. It was she who convinced the great houses, sans the Telvanni, who we've talked about, to join the pact. During the Alliance War of the Second Era 582, Deshawn was threatened by a cult known as the Malborn, who sought to topple the Tribunal and return the Dunmer to Daedra worship. They were led by Magistrix Euryli Vox.
Yeah, Euryli Vox, I think.
Mm-hmm. Once a handmaiden of Almalexia, who turned against her following her son's execution. The insurgents were ultimately put down. So she did have a hand in uniting all of these people, which sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, that was actually a series of events that happens in game as well. You had referenced, it being ESO. If you play the Ebonheart Pact storyline and are in the whole region of the Stonefalls and Deshawn, which is in Morrowind, that's the situation that you actually deal with. This is what takes place during the events of ESO that you're just talking about.
Right. So she plays a big role with her people. She's very involved with them. You can see why they would love her for being supportive, for going to war for them, all of these kinds of things. And she's regularly showing her power. So It's kind of hard to deny a living god among you who's showing such great strength. That doesn't deserve worship when she takes care of you. So
exactly.
But here's what we're going to do. We're going to skip over the Dagathur stuff, the events at the end of Morrowind. We can cover that in a separate episode because that deserves its own episode. And we're going to talk coming up after the break about her death, continued worship, because there are some people out there that are still worshiping her. And your favorite thing, she's got her own artifacts, just like Daedric Prince.
She sure does.
So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is Hermes Mora, Dragonborn, and you are educating yourself to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast.
Well, thank you, Hermie. All right, here we are in the middle of the show. This is where we get to thank our new patrons and welcome them on board. We have a bunch of new ones that have signed up in the last week, and I need to make sure that I get all of them here because I don't always remember exactly who I called out last. I don't remember if we called out Annie E, but welcome Annie E, Kelsey L, AMR 198, Daniel, Maddie, Lexit again, Alex H, and Rhett N. Welcome to the Patreon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And big shout out to all 118 of you.
Wow.
Thank you so much for your support. Very, very much appreciated. And our 3 Daedric Princes, Evelyn R, Kira C, and Noodle Al Dente, who sign up at tier 5 and get shout outs every week. Thank you to you guys as well. Wow, guys, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for supporting the show. This allows me to do this for a living, and I really do appreciate it. We also normally have some reviews. We don't have any new ones this week. So if you'd like to leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, I'll read it out on a future episode of the show, or you can leave us ratings on Spotify if you listen on there. Those are both wonderful ways to help out. And I think that's it for the middle of the show. So we need to go talk more about Almalexia. Here we go.
You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, dear child of cities. That is why the Night Mother loves you.
All right, here we are. We're back. There was one other thing I wanted to mention. Currently, right now, and for the rest of the month, I've set up some new stuff on the website, on the store, and I've moved our shirts store from the company I used to use to a new company because it's a lot cheaper, because that other company raised their prices and it was getting kind of crazy. So I moved to a different company, lowered the prices, and for the rest of the month, all of the shirts on the store are 20% off your entire order. You can order as many as you want. So if you want to get a Hermes Mora shirt off the store, go for it. I've reduced
why not Hermes Mora?
Why not Hermes Mora? I've reduced the inventory, so it's just that everyone's everyone's favorite shirts, but I've added some new ones. Like there's one of my cartoon face saying "Words is hard." So
I saw that one.
So if you want to get that or any of the other shirts that support any of the shows I do, go check it out. I've basically reduced everything to the point where I'm not really making any profit at all. I just wanted to put them on sale for people who have been kind of waiting and wanting to grab one. So there you go. And enjoy them. I hope you guys enjoy them. All right, let's move on with the rest of the discussion about Almalexia. We have, you want to talk about her death?
Yeah, let's talk about her death.
Yeah, why don't you present this? You seem more familiar with this than I.
Well,
you're more of a Morrowind guy than I am.
I am, and this is, we might need to correct a few things just by referencing the wiki or UESP itself.
Sure, no problem.
Make sure my memory holds.
Right.
But the interesting thing about her death is it's the ultimate situation of sort of ultimate power corrupts absolute, or what is it? Absolute power corrupts absolutely, I think is the
something
phrase.
like that. Yeah.
Where her obsession with her own power and all of this basically in the end drives her completely insane.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't just take her out. This actually kind of involves a spoiler for another of the Tribunal, because she murders Sotha Sil on the way out. So
and this is like a very real thing that happens. Like if you take humans and you put them in a place, not just of power, but a place where they have power or they have comfort or they have, for example, if you are given a job where you make a lot of money and you don't have to really do a whole lot, there's a psychological thing that happens where you feel like you have to keep holding up the right to be there. Does that make sense? And so
right.
you don't act, you deep down, you don't actually deserve to be there. You don't actually have the skills needed or the authority or whatever. And so it eats at you from the inside. Just because other people believe it of you doesn't mean that if you know it's not true, you feel like a phony. You feel like someone's going to find you out at some point, and then everything's going to topple down. So it has this like psychological effect. I feel like this is kind of the God equivalent
right
of that.
Pretty much, because like basically as time had gone on, she had changed and she became much more. It was much less. We've had what was it? The Lady of Mercy, I believe, was one of her names. Where now she's kind of chucked that out the window, and now it's like it's warrior time. Like I need to be the most loved, the most respected. I need to basically forcibly become Mother Morrowind at the expense of everybody else. Like everyone needs to love me the most.
It's like a Galadriel if she takes on the Ring of Power kind of situation.
Right. So that's just it. So she, this is where she kind of went crazy. Like she went mad. And actually the thing that I wanted to specifically do, because I was trying to remember exactly how the events played out, but basically during the events of Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind and after the game, because there's an expansion, Tribunal, that's where you get a little more of this. So just as a quick little aside here, when the Nerevarine came to Mournhold after Dagathar's fall in 3E 427, which is the events of the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, Almalexia was determined to basically just like trap him, get him under him or her under Almalexia's control, off the Nerevarine if need be, and that's where she turned on Sotha Sil and basically just murders him in his own Clockwork City and tries to use all of his creations to run amok above ground, which is like, these are supposed to be your people. Like,
right. And
so much for protecting everybody all of a sudden.
Yeah. And it was in order to frame him, to make it look like it was something he did and Correct. She was justified in his murder.
Exactly. So this is the thing where it's like, it suddenly wasn't about this benevolent thought. It was just like, how can I make everyone love me the most? Oh, I know. Sothasil is a traitor. Look what he did to you. Isn't it good that I killed him? And it's like,
right.
Okay, that's
we see echoes of this in the political landscape today in our own world, where certain politicians will purposely put through legislation that they know is going to be harmful to their own constituents. And then they will claim that the reason everyone is suffering is because of things the other party did. And that's why you need to elect them again. It's the same kind of thing.
Right. And during this whole thing, she basically, throughout the quest line, is she'll lure you to the Clockwork City as you play the Nerevarine, and your job is to mess her up, more or less, and finish her off, stop this chaos that's going on, and kind of off her, so that nobody needs to deal more with Almalexia and the crazies.
Right. So she is. As just off the top of my head right here, this is wasn't one of the things I thought about earlier on when we were doing research. She is one of the only. She's one of two godlike beings. I guess it depends on how you classify godlike being. She's one of only a handful of godlike beings that you, as the player, get to destroy. Actually, destroy in a game. There's her. There's Sheogorath, which I think you mantle. I don't know if it's an actual destroy.
I don't know how you would classify that, but I mean, I guess you could consider Jigalag, because that's who you defeat.
You defeat Jigalag, but he doesn't go away. He just disappears until the next age.
Right.
But then you mantle Sheogorath, which is kind of destruction of who Sheogorath was originally and is now you.
Sure.
Sort of. And then there's like Alduin. If you want to consider Alduin a godlike being when he's close.
Right.
But other than that, I think that's it. Right?
Yeah, because most of the time you're working with them. I mean, in ESO, your vestige definitely does, although you don't really kill any of, like,
I mean, you stand up against...
You fight back Molag Bal. You fight back Dagon. But again, it's kind of this cyclical thing of you never really kill a Daedric prince.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you defeat... Yeah, Rob in chat says you defeat Mehrunes Dagon like 3 times, but you don't actually destroy him. I'm talking about destroy. Like, the character is gone. Yeah, in Oblivion. You defeat him and push him back, right?
Right. Yeah. And you do that in the Gates of Oblivion. Right. in ESO. And the Soul Burst or the Vestige quest line in ESO. The focus is around Molag Bal. Well, you don't kill Molag Bal because he's still there.
Yeah, he's eternal. He just goes away for a while, then he comes back
so that they have to reform, because Daedra reform, and I think it's to a greater extent, a less amount of agony, it seems like, for them to reconstruct.
Right. But I think to the point here, I think she's one of only a few. She's one of only a few that you as a player character kill. So her story ends with you as the player character ending her, which is novel. It's very unique. It's kind of, I don't know. It's one of those things that I find really kind of fun and interesting, because you don't get too much closer to the events of these games and playing them yourself as something like that. Like, you as the main character push this forward and make it happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it is literally not even so much an option if you intend to do the quest. Like, this is one of the few events that is assumed to have happened based on the fact that you would have played that.
Right. And
some of the ones you can technically beat the crap out of Vivek, but it's ambiguous.
It's not part of the. It's not part of the canon. It's just one of the things that you can do. The canon is up for debate.
He's not there. Nobody knows what happens to Vivek, which we'll get into more so in the Vivek thing. Right. But it's not conclusive. It is conclusive. Sothasil, done for. Almalexia, done for, and you killed her.
Did it.
Like, you did it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And Manny Marco, the Under King, if they are in fact the same person, there's questions about that. Is that of the same god status? And Manny Marco, I guess, technically becomes a
literal god momentarily.
Yeah, is that of the same set? Like, this is another one of the ones that popped in my head, and I was like, is this really? So thanks for bringing that up, Rob.
Yeah, that's another one that's kind of like an interesting, like, well, I guess you could make that point, but so it's interesting because So that's pretty much the synopsis of her untimely demise.
Right. So she's gone, but then there are people who still worship her.
Right. And it's weird because before we pull too far away and we'll get into like the worshiping thing, one of the things that I've just found very odd is she was married to Indral Nerevar, which becomes the second coming when you're the Nerevarine. Like,
right.
So like,
and she was part of the reason why he dies.
Right. So you get the ultimate payback in the end. But then it's also weird because after Nerevar is defeated, it's not even so much. I mean, Michael Kirkbride writes in a lot of ways that are very, interpretive. You've got to figure. There was very little up for debate that like the tribunal were all just getting it on with each other all the time. So it's also kind of weird.
Yeah.
That like she kills her husband and then it's just like, okay, well, now I'm going to she reminds me of a Black Widow in the end, where it's just like, or a praying mantis. Those are the ones that eat the heads of the shit. She's just going down the line of people that are just like, okay, well, you know what? You're next because you're too close to me. I need to eliminate you because this is a potential thing. And this is hindering other people's acknowledgement of how awesome I am.
Right. Right.
Which almost seems like maybe it magnified in the end to this just lunatical degree that she had right up till she had to be put down.
Right. And just to address Rob in the comments, he says this backs up the point I hear from Eremithius all the time. Belief from followers doesn't ensure your godhood. There's nothing inherently divine about being worshipped. Yes, it's like it's not a thing that ensures godhood, but some godlike beings benefit from worship.
Like that helps.
It's like cases. It's like a secondary. It seems like sometimes that helps, or sometimes that is a goal in order to get more souls to their plane or whatever. It's not something that works forward. It's something that works backward. If you think of it like,
well, yeah, and oftentimes
I don't know if I explained that well.
Right, but and also sometimes I also wonder if true, like there's like a correlation between levels of worship and some of the degree of strength maybe that they show. I also wonder if like it shows a little bit of like, okay, is there actual divinity here? Or are you totally BSing everybody?
Right.
You're not like, you know what I mean? Like it could actually explain more than they might want it to, or maybe not. It's just an interesting idea.
Yeah. And it's another thing that you could debate here, and this is all side stuff, is that the worship itself may not fill your power like a battery, like you're siphoning energy from your worshipers. I think a lot of people think of it that way.
Plug it in the worshipers.
Like it maybe some of the Daedric beings have something about that, especially once they bring their souls into their plane or something like that. But I don't think that's the majority of it. If anything, having more people worship you simply gives you more power over more people. It's as simple as that. Right. Like you have more power and influence. You have a bigger influence
because mathematically you have an influence over more people.
It's a tautology. It is more people worship you, so therefore you have more people that you control, therefore you have more power. It can be as simple as that, and it probably is most of the time. So
that's just divinity math right there.
That's just divinity math. So here, let's move on. We've got the Fourth Era, 201. The last vestiges of Almalexia's marks were gone from Mournhold. The Dunmer returned to their veneration of Boethia, right, who were the Anticipations. And I love this part, now called one of the Reclamations. They have to justify with their own words that like, oh, these were in the anticipations of the tribunal, and no, the tribunal's not really here anymore, so we're just going back to the old ways.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that didn't work. Sweep the Almalexia
sorry, Boethia,
rug.
We're going to worship you again. Yeah. And managed to make their way without their healing mother watching over them. Almalexia is still remembered and honored as one of the greater saints of the Dunmeri faith. So although she didn't do some great things sometimes, she also did some good things.
They kept her in high regard, but bumped her down a peg in the divinity scale, and try to try to scrub the social media from the Mimo spores talking about her letting all the mechanical contraptions out to murder everybody.
Right. And I love this final sentence in this paragraph, but not one who was ever supposed to be one of the cornerstones of the religion. So it seems like the majority of the Dunmer at this point figure things out and they go, those guys kind of took the power for themselves.
Yeah,
this wasn't
okay. Maybe the Ashlanders were on to something.
maybe they were onto something. But despite the majority of the Dunmer people turning away from Almalexia worship, the goddess was still revered by certain sects. How freaking accurate is this with the way the world works? Like, most people move on, or most people learn something that is true. Guess what, guys? The earth is round. It is a globe. And yet there are still people out there who say, nah, it's flat. It's like, no, it's not. Almalexia was never supposed to be a god. The Tribunal were not supposed to take that power. They did it of their own accord. There was no greater purpose going on, right? So... Yeah.
And I mean, not to unnecessarily dunk on people, but if willfully staying ignorant is very different from being ignorant and just not having the knowledge there yet.
Yes.
And one of my favorite things, based on the statement you just made about like people thinking the earth is flat. One of my favorite things that I ever saw related to that was people from around the globe are starting to believe this. And I'm like, there is so much
around
wrong with this.
The globe. You just named it a globe. Yes. That's
I appreciate you making the point of
it was like the description on the Flat World Society Twitter page or something like that says like, and we're expanding membership around the globe.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I'm just like, great.
Said
perfect.
Globe. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. There's 100 billion ways to prove that the earth is round. There's 0 ways to prove that it's flat. Anyway, let's get on to the artifacts. Now we're very, very clearly off course here. All right. So there's 2 artifacts. I know this is one of your favorites. Do you want to cover it or should I?
I was going to say, well, I'll cover Hope's Fire just because I think this thing looks awesome.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
I actually have very little, I know these exist, but it's kind of funny. Like, I have no recollection of dealing with these because I'm assuming they come, I think you see Hope's Fire, if I'm not totally off base, in Morrowind. I think it's in the expansion, but
I think it is.
Yeah, Hope's Fire, or the Blade of Almalexia, is a one-handed Dwemer sword from the early First Era. So this thing is super old as well, which is kind of neat.
Made by the Dwemer.
Yeah, exactly. Hope's Fire and its twin True Flame, also a really cool name, represents the pinnacle of Dwemeri craftsmanship. The twin blade possessed unearthly fire enchantments, which it's like, I don't know. The idea of like unearthly fire enchantments is just kind of a funny way to put that. But
it's magic. That's all it's saying.
It's magic. There's lots of magic.
It's crazy magic, but all right.
But yeah, they were presented at the wedding gifts to Lord Indral Nerevar and Almalexia by the Dwemer King Dumak. The thing that I like about it, and they actually have a great picture of it, on the UESP, I love the blue flame on it.
That's why it's otherworldly. That's unearthly.
It's because it's blue flame.
It's a blue flame.
Let's see, there it is. Mm-hmm. And actually, Tuniversal from chat confirms, True Flame, because I remember True Flame. So that was just, so True Flame is definitely from Elder Scrolls 3. So yeah, these babies are in Elder Scrolls 3, which it's just, it's really nice.
Yeah, you can tell by the low poly and the low resolution textures that
we're not pixelated Arena and Daggerfall level. We're
not quite that far.
Those big polygonal, nice angular jaggies. That's the type of
this has polygons. It has 12 polygons, but it has polygons. So
it's more than 2 polygons.
The Elder Scrolls 3, yes. So the other item here is called the Mask of Almalexia. It is a Daedric ceremonial war mask, also known as a killing mask of the tribunal god Almalexia. It features serpentine aesthetics fitting on the goddess's title of the face snaked queen. Okay. It is one of the masks of the Tribunal, the other two being the Mask of Sothasil, the mask, and Vivek's Ash mask. The design of this one is actually really cool because it has these like looking. I mean, it's not a flattering design. This is not the kind of design you put on because you want to look attractive.
Yeah, it's definitely not playing up the vanity aspect of her. Although I guess sort of is if you look at the way it's got the fangs and it's got these like
horns?
Almost like tusks.
Yeah.
Like coming up from and a very
severe looking kind of angry, ugly face.
Yes, it's very angular. It's very, scowled in for the the angles of it. But the thing about that, which I guess, maybe not from the vanity aspect of look how pretty I am. However, it fits with her mantra from later in her life, where she becomes very warrior queen. I need to slay my opponents. Yeah. I need to conquer. This fits more with that. It's a very intimidating style of thing. It looks like a war mask as opposed to something that you would wear to court or to look pretty or whatever. Right. Or to have that nurturing feel. This is like, I'm gonna mess you up type of look.
Yeah, no, it's very much a war mask. It's supposed to scare your enemies and that kind of thing. I also like that it very much
syncs up to the end of her life.
Yeah, I also like that it has a copper kind of coloring where some of it has turned green.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Very weathered.
Looks very weathered. Yeah, but that's it. That we get 2 items. These are the only 2 items, and that's it. I'm surprised that we didn't get more in ESO. I mean, I guess they're still around, and so to leave your items around for people
they are around at the time of ESO, unless be around.
Unless they were justifying hey, this is something I crafted and was a gift to this person. That person's no longer around, so here I'm going to give it to you, and now you've got some sort of fancy item or something. But that doesn't happen. So.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. So that's basically it for Almalexia without going into too many. I mean, it's so hard to cover any of these without talking about the other ones.
And we've made references to the other ones. So, I mean, they definitely tie into each other. Again, Almalexia will be mentioned again when we talk about Vivek and Sothasil as well. So there's definitely going to be some, tie in between them because they're all very intertwined with each other. But that's, as much Almalexia specific stuff as we can probably pry apart.
Yeah, I think that's the most of it. I mean, there's a little more details around some of these things, but I think that it's kind of the main overview. I mean,
you can infinite amounts of details if you want, but I think that's like a good summary of her life, her interactions, and her inevitable demise.
Inevitable demise at your own hands. So nice. So we'll the next few weeks we'll cover Vivek and Sothasil, and today is the 8th as we record this, and then as we get closer to the end of the month, we get closer to our patron episode. So I think we've got 2 more weeks before the 29th, which is when we would do our patron episode, which is conveniently not on Christmas or anything like that. Yeah, so we'll still plan to do that. Yeah, so we've got plenty of time to cover the other 2, and then who knows, maybe we could talk about Morrowind or some of this stuff with our patrons, which would be cool. So to wrap this up, Lotus, I know you did a thing this weekend.
I did.
It was crazy, dude. Why were there so many people in your charity stream? That was amazing.
It's amazing how much when you have like every outlet imaginable try to give you a hand.
That's so cool.
How far that reaches. So the event that we had been talking about and prepping up for over the last probably almost 2 months at this point was my yearly Extra Life drive. And this last weekend, we had our big charity marathon where my goal was to go for 20 hours and then hand the reins over to Ark, who would do another however long until his goal was I'm going to stream until I finish making a video game from scratch, which
he's still there. He's still there. No, he's still going. No, I'm kidding.
Nobody could believe it. Oh no.
That's awesome.
The joke was going to be Ark dies doing this.
Right.
And people were amazed. Like he made an Extra Life based platformer game.
That's awesome.
And it came out great. It's really, really impressive. But huge shout out, to the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages who lended a huge hand. We just looking at the various things and stuff like that. We had close to 40,000 people who stopped by.
Yeah,
which is that's a lot of digits.
During the day when I was able to like hang out, I had you up on the computer in the background, but the times I was able to sit down and engage.
A lot of people do, and it's just like that's what helps us get there.
Yeah,
like not all these people are talking for 20 hours straight.
Oh, sure. You were well over 1,000 consecutive viewers every time I walked by the screen. It was amazing. What was the total? What did you guys end up?
So in the end, our first goal was $3,000. Was our goal,
which is a solid goal.
Which is a solid goal.
If anybody who's done any of these charity streams knows that's a really solid goal. We've had great success.
We have a lot of people helping us, and I was like, this is a big goal that I would like us to try to get, and then we smashed it before ARC even started, which I was like, well, this is unexpected. So Dave from the founder of the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, who provided us a whole bunch of giveaways and stuff like that. I'll give people updates on the tattoo that I get once I get an artist, because I actually am factoring an Elder Scrolls portion to it when I get it done, because we hit that goal, which I thought was kind of like a joke goal. And I was like, okay, well, so much for that goal. That's gone. Like we passed that by a mile.
And now I have tattoos over my entire body. Thank you, everybody. We hit so many goals.
Dave jumped in and was like, okay, well, this is an enormous success. You have so many people there and everybody is like super enthused. What if, because he gave away like a bunch of Patreon tier rewards. He was like, what if we do the highest tier reward I've got pretty much, which is a custom laser engraved framed wooden map of any place you want in Tamriel, which is outrageous. Like if you look at the tier for that,
Vivek's butt, can that be a location?
Is that? It's technically a location.
It's technically a location. I was going to make a joke during your stream about that, but I decided not to. I was like, what is the weirdest and most inappropriate location? I just came up with Vivek's butt right now, but Vivek's spear.
Doesn't get more weird than that.
His weapon? Yes. Sure. Wait a minute. Do you mean the same thing I do? No.
I think that'd probably win it.
Marin's Dagon's abs.
But so we put that up, and that was I was like, okay, we did a stretch goal. We're like, we'll do another $500. Like people have got to be about tapped out. Which, spoiler alert, they weren't tapped out. We got that goal. We went over that goal. And then upon closing, the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages was like, well, we're going to match the first 3,000.
Wow.
So we ended up raising $6,557 for Extra Life this last weekend.
That's awesome.
Which is, so this was the 10th year that I've done it. This is the absolute most that I've ever been part of a group that's raised. So many people from so many different communities, and a lot of you are from this community. Like there are so many people that are on the Patreon with us, or send in stuff to the show. Thank you so much to everybody. I literally was struggling to comprehend how much everybody was helping out. I'm glad so many people won really cool prizes as well. But yeah, we pretty much blew away any goal that we considered. But by like miles, like it just. Oh
yeah, more than double your anything you considered even shooting for.
That's
like
exactly.
You pick a number thinking like maybe we can reach this,
and that was exactly what I was thinking with our original one. And I was like, I'm handing the reins off to ARC, and I was like, well, we're done. Like I don't know, just have fun making a game. Like I don't know what else we can do. And Rob, along with everybody, several other people in chat, we were coming up with some incentives on the fly just to make things interesting. ARC is sort of a bad friend because he egged everybody on. I destroyed my Elder Scrolls Online character for charity.
Man.
Which is rough. I'm known for wearing glass armor and an ebony helmet. That's just
it's a real shame.
We always joke about it. People either think the armor looks real cool or it doesn't. And it turned into a bidding war over every $10 people could redesign part of my gear, and I have to keep it until 2023. That was the deal. I've got to keep it for the rest of the year. I can't change back. So if I'm playing the game, you're going to see me looking like a ridiculous wacko.
Are you running around like a big old clown now?
I sure do. I sure do. And what's more is as Gigi brings up in chat, the fact that after a raid from one of our friends, Avron, she, a huge Almalexia Dominion supporter, was like, how much to make you switch alliances if we're just selling off all of your dignity?
Yeah, I wasn't there when this happened, but I was there after it happened, and I was lamenting this with the rest
horrifying.
Of
like so many people took so many awkward clips of me begrudgingly switching to. I also have to play as an Almalexia Dominion now until 2023. That goes right along with the costume thing, and already I really appreciate the people who have found me in game and said, "Way to have 5 yellow stars, you traitor." And I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have to deal with this for a month because it keeps your rank in the... So I am now a grand overlord in my most despised faction.
No.
So, super fun time. I really appreciate it. We played some Daggerfall on stream for people, which got real weird, but everybody kept me awake so much. I actually ended up running long during Daggerfall. Like, we ended up going for over 21 hours.
Nice.
Just because it was fun and everybody was having a good time. So again, huge thank you to all of you who dropped by and supported however you did, monetarily, spreading the word, just hanging out to keep me from getting bored and falling asleep. This was definitely the best way I could have thought to celebrate 10th anniversary of doing this charity thing.
Yeah.
10th anniversary.
Yeah. Congratulations. That's awesome. And it's such a good cause. So
absolutely.
Man, that feels good. And everybody who contributed, everybody who joined and helped out, everybody should feel awesome about that, because that is huge.
Even if you're just hanging out, a lot of the time it's hard to express. You might not realize from the other side of this how much that actually just helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to keep you focused on doing what you're doing, as opposed to like drifting off and getting bored and whatever.
And help discovery of the stream, because the more people in the channel, the more easy it is for people to find it, because it gets pushed up on those lists. And don't
happen without people doing that.
Absolutely. All of it is helpful. And even just on a personal level, like having people join your stream and like chime in feels good. You feel like, oh, people like me. People like what I'm doing. They want to support what I'm doing. They care, like all of that adds up and is awesome. So such an awesome community. Thank you everybody who helped out.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Lotus, for taking the time to do this in ARC.
Hey, I'm happy to act like a jackass if it does some good.
For 21 hours straight, man. That's not easy, especially as you get older. 10 years ago, that was a lot easier.
I definitely feel it from year one when I did this a lot more.
Yeah. It changes as you get older. Well, that's awesome. Anything else coming up you want to share?
No, I was going to say we just recorded our episode of Tales last night. Actually, we had Dave from the Elder Scrolls unofficial Elder Scrolls pages join us to kind of do a year in review of not only our charity drive, but also the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, since we're combined with them. I mean, we use them here all the time, and this is a sister show of Tales, and Tales is the unofficial. It's just one big homogenized thing where we all kind of just work together. So he came on and chatted with us for a while. So, we did that. And then hopefully this weekend I will have a little time, because I would actually like to play some more classics. I just posted, I clipped it up and posted the portion of Daggerfall we played during Extra Life to my YouTube if you're interested in the playthroughs, and hopefully I'm going to be able to add another bit to it, as we have been on a very weird Dark Brotherhood mission where apparently all the Dark Brotherhood are saber cats in Daggerfall.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look that up. Maybe we need to do an episode on why that is. Yeah, we're delving back to the deep stuff.
That's pretty deep.
Oh boy. All right. Well, awesome. Go check out that stuff. All my stuff's at robotsradio.net. So if you're into this show, you want to learn more about Fallout or any of the other, Lord of the Rings, any other shows I do, go check them out. robotsradio.net. Also, a bunch of t-shirts on sale. Go grab a t-shirt. Get yourself a holiday present. Why not Hermes Mora? But I haven't been streaming as much. I apologize for that. I've been busy with other things. So it might not be something I can get back to right away with the game streams in the afternoons. But, I always go through these phases where I can do it for a while and then other stuff comes up and I'm like, I'm missing too many of these. So who knows? Maybe I'll get back to streaming at some point. It's always just a fun, hey, let's hang out with the community kind of thing. So no big loss, I guess. It's just I'll do it when I can. I think that does it for this episode, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here, chat. Everybody in chat. I love all the comments and things. And we will be back next week on Thursday night again. So stay safe out there. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Twitter at robots_radio or Lotus of Doom at Lotus of Doom. Also, you can join us on the Robots Radio Discord channel. You can easily just search Robots Radio Discord on Google or check the description underneath the podcast. Also, this podcast is recorded live every week on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the Robots Radio channels on Twitch, YouTube, and on Facebook. So just search Robots Radio on any of those platforms. Come join us. We'd love to chat with you while we record the show or before or after. Either way, just come hang out with us. And if you're looking for more information about my shows and the shows on the Robots Radio Network, go to robotsradio.net for all the information about all the shows on the network, including the Robots Radio Rocket Club, where I help both new and existing podcasters to grow their shows, build their audiences, and create the best podcasts they possibly can. All of that at robotsradio.net. We'll see you next time.